It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
We work with over 10,000 renters a year, and our experience from what we hear is that there are a lot of bad landlords. They do exist, and I'm constantly surprised at the lack of support, interest, care that they feel towards their renters and the properties that they own.
And that is Jennifer Beveridge on the Real Estate Breakfast, right around Australia, 7 days a week, talking what else but your property news in 2025, which is starting to come to an end. Yes, all of those trends and market fluctuations throughout 2025. There has been so many, and we've been talking about it every day. We are up to over 1,450 property podcasts, so you can keep pace on what is basically happening in your local backyard. Now, it is November the 26th, a very busy day today for a film that premiered in New York back in 1942. Do you know what the film was? It was called Casablanca. The millennials and the younger ones will be saying, what is Casablanca? But you'll probably know this, millennials. Tina Turner, she would have been celebrating a birthday today. Unfortunately, she died back in 2023. She loved Australia and Aussies loved her. One of the best marketing campaigns, I think, ever was when she aligned herself with rugby league and had that monster hit. Yes, Tina Turner. She would have been celebrating a birthday, and thank you, Tina, for all of those wonderful moments. Now, Victoria's rental market is about to undergo major reform with a new wave of rules taking effect from yesterday. No-fault evictions will be banned, rental bidding will end, and landlords must now give 90 days notice before increasing rent or issuing certain vacate notices. From yesterday, all newly advertised rentals must meet minimum standards, while annual smoke alarm checks become compulsory. Privacy rules tighten, and from December the 1st, all window cords must be safely anchored to prevent hazards, ushering in one of Victoria's biggest shifts in tenant protections. And let's go to Melbourne right now and catch up with Jennifer Beveridge, the CEO from Tenants Victoria. And good morning to you, Jennifer. Welcome into the Real Estate Breakfast. Were you a Tina Turner fan back in the day when she was singing that monster hit that I just played?
I remember Tina Turner. The thing was the moves and the hair.
Yes, she had both of those to perfection. Now, as I say, Victoria is about to introduce the latest 5 reforms from the state's 150 rental rule changes since 2021. Perhaps just talk those through, because quite a lot of news to get through here.
There is, and here in Victoria, we have a number of new reforms that came in yesterday here in Victoria that are great news. The big one, I think, is that any notice now for a reason to vacate or a notice of a rent increase must be made at least 90 days in advance. In the past, it was 60 days. We know it's really hard even to organise a holiday with 60 days, let alone uproot your life and move to a new house. So that's a great improvement for renters. Rental properties must now meet minimum standards when they're advertised. So if the property's not up to scratch, it's no longer okay to put that property on the market. The work needs to be done to meet some pretty basic minimum standards before it's listed for rent. Mandatory smoke alarm checks must be done every year now. That's been a law for a number of years in properties where leases started after March 2021, but now it will apply to all properties. And there are lots of rules now to protect renters' personal information. We know that our information is really critical to be kept private. We don't want it to be shared in a range of places, and this law requires property managers to take steps to ensure that that information is kept safe. I think the big one, though, is the ban on no-fault evictions. And up until yesterday, it was possible for people to be issued with a notice to vacate the property for no reason. That's pretty unreasonable. And now rental providers need to give the reason why they want the person to leave.
Yeah, so there are a number of things, as you have just stepped over. Of course, accepting offers above an advertised rental price becomes illegal, as you said. This really closes the remaining loophole on bidding, completing earlier measures that ban soliciting higher offers. And the Rental Task Force has already issued over 90 fines. That is totalling over 750 grand there, Jennifer, for some of these key offences that date back to last year.
That's right. The Rental Task Force sitting alongside these key reforms really does ensure that the reforms are doing their work. It's all well and good to have laws in place or rules in place, but if people aren't following, then they're a little bit toothless. So the Rental Task Force is doing a great job in helping to identify where there are persistent problems and working with the real estate agencies to address those.
We are talking to Jennifer. She is in Melbourne. A whole lot of rules and regulations for tenants that has come in as of yesterday. What are the landlords and the investors saying all about this? We'll talk about that next.
Explore new property destinations where you could live with exclusive interviews covering real estate news and market insights.
And right now it is time for another property tip. A couple of weeks ago we were talking with Carmen there in the Gap in Brisbane. Welcome back, Carmen. You've got a property tip for everybody this morning.
Thank you, Craig. Yes, my tip is that when you do purchase a property, you should try your hardest to hold that property for at least 10 years to make sure that it appreciates in value enough for you to be able to then use that equity for the next part of your journey. If you transact too many times and buy too many different properties in that first 10 years, otherwise you're not going to realise the full financial potential of that asset.
Yeah, it is a common problem with people thinking that, yes, let's turn a property over every 18, 24 months. And it's the financial activity of doing all of those transactions that really just don't work out the best.
Let's fuel your passion for property together. Join us, along with our industry experts, to help inspire and inform your next real estate decision.
And it is a Real Estate Wednesday. Jennifer Beveridge, the CEO from Tenants Victoria, has joined us this morning. Time to have a look at what the investors and the landlords are saying, because I do note that the investor groups argue that the reforms add pressure to landlords and contribute to investor withdrawals from the Victorian market. Concerns, they say, include poor communication of policy, increased compliance requirements, and rising regulatory costs. What do you say about that?
Here in Victoria, we talk about renting as part of a consumer market. So I think my response to that is a pretty basic one. If you're providing a product to a customer, then it needs to be fit for purpose. And we now have some rules in place that determine what fit for purpose looks like in rented homes. Let's, I think, all agree that having a home is a pretty fundamental and essential thing for all of us to achieve. While there may be additional compliance, there might have been poor communication. I think they're all things that happen to us all as we are trying to improve a system. 30% of us rent our homes. It's a large consumer group, if you want to keep on with that metaphor. And so it's reasonable that the products that are being offered into that market are fit for purpose and good quality. And so, the other thing I would say to that is that most landlords are happily engaging with the improvements, talking to a number of property managers. They are on top of this and they are supportive of the changes that are coming through.
Yeah, I think you sort of say it correctly, because most landlords, they want to do the right thing with their tenants, because the tenants are the ones that are paying for everything. And you can't really argue once this has come into law. We've got the rogue landlords out there. It's a very, very, very tiny, small percentage of these landlords that just operate in a way that gives other landlords a really bad rap. And it's amazing how these very small numbers can slur right across the industry of very good landlords.
I think that's a really interesting observation you raise. Here at Tenants Victoria, of course, we work with over 10,000 renters a year, and our experience from what we hear is that there are a lot of bad landlords. They do exist, and I'm constantly surprised at the lack of support, interest, care that they feel towards their renters and the properties that they own. But let's not forget there are more than 650,000 rented homes in Victoria. It's a large group of properties and it's a large group of people who are involved in this rental sector, and we want to support those people to do the right thing by the renters who live in their properties.
Yes, and just before I let you go, bond transfer legislation. Now, what does that mean if you are a tenant? Well, it allows tenants to move their existing bond from their current rental to the next, reducing upfront costs during relocation. This is something that you guys, I think, fought for pretty hard, was it?
We did fight for this pretty hard. It's one of those facts of life for renters that you have to come up with another $2,000 or $3,000 upfront every time you want to move house to pay the next bond. And it will be a thing of the past soon. It will be possible for renters to opt into the portable bond scheme and be able to essentially transfer the bond between their previous property and their next property. One of the interesting things we'll be looking for is if there's a reduction in the churn in the rental market because there will be no reason notices to vacate. That's going to be an interesting thing that will also have an impact on people not needing to stump up for an extra bond.
All right, we'll leave it there, Jennifer. Thank you so much for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast and just running through all of those points for our tenants and landlords alike. You are the CEO from the Tenants Victoria, and we appreciate that a lot. Enjoy your Wednesday and also, of course, the Christmas New Year coming up.
Thank you very much.
Remember, we are not a real estate company. We are 100% all about increasing your awareness and knowledge for buying and selling properties.
Really worked out how I wanted to use the place and then went on to do designs to build it. And of course, Robertson now is one of the little jewel villages of the Highlands. We've got some wonderful chefs working here. You can even get slow-cooked Wagyu beef. So it's beautiful. It's 1.5 hours for Sydney.
There are certain things that you need to really think about. And the first one that we'll talk about is heritage. You need to find that out, don't you, as well as the title of the land.
Absolutely. So there are two very important questions. If it is heritage, you can still achieve a lot of things, but you do have restrictions. And then I would highly recommend that you get a heritage architect. And you can't paint timber if it is heritage, but what you can do with the walls, you can actually line them.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.